This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Here we go. Our last Off the Rails Friday of the season.
This is it. The last YouTube show of the season, too.
Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandeo, Frank the Tank for our final YouTube
We got
show.
a Frank sighting back there?
He got a look today. The tats are awesome.
Sun's out, guns out.
Guns and tattoos
man.
galore on the Real
What
Kyper
is
and
this,
Bourne
the
show.
U.S.? Guns and tats everywhere.
Where's our Sammy cam now when we need it?
No.
We need a Frank cam.
It's smoky in Toronto because of those guns. Baby.
Let them know.
All right. Once again, we are jam-packed in our hour.
We are, actually.
Doug McLean will throw in his Friday cameo. I don't know where he is.
It's Carmen San Diego every
I
week.
have no idea either, but texted him this morning. He said, "Yep."
As long as
So-
he's willing to be on, we'll find out where we get him.
A big thank you to our YouTube followers throughout the
Yeah.
whole year. There's some times when I've looked on my screen and I've seen thousands of followers, and I'm like, that must be a typo because
I don't believe
people have better things to do than watch our show on a computer screen.
I guess not, pal. There's
No?
lots of interest in these Maplers.
Really?
We're just another way to get that info.
Okay. Well,
And
we
I
thank
think-
all of them. And Sammy will give a couple of shout outs, I think, along the way.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
And,
All right.
If you're nice to me, if you say something nice about me in the chat, I'll give you a shout out.
Do they dump on you, Sammy, a lot?
Sometimes they get after me pretty good. Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's not, next year. Like all this clamoring for a Sam Cam, I got to say the future's looking pretty bright.
Oh, you know something?
Well, I just think the potential's there that, an agreement could be reached, that potentially a camera could be placed.
You know,
I don't know.
The interest is there.
Yeah, they got one of those old news cameras that's lying around from City TV.
Oh, no, those are too expensive. You got to get like a smartphone and
They got a tripod for an iPhone.
a tripod. Get those real cheap on Amazon.
For an Android, actually.
Okay, where do you want to go here? Because there is a ton of news out there, including some buyouts, guys, some big names, prominent names,
Yep.
head-scratching buyouts. There's Willy Nylander conversations going on. I think Frank Saravelli, we've got a clip on him on Willy. You guys want to start there before we go to the buyouts?
Yeah, I also wrote about that today. Not sure if it's live yet, but I have things to say on Willy.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with Willy Nylander and Frank Saravelli.
I would say with each passing day, the trade possibility and likelihood continues to go up. I don't know what percentage points or whatever it is, but I don't see it lingering forever.
So to not radio our good friend Frank,
Right.
he said he was asked by JD Bunkus on the JD Bunkus podcast about, if he doesn't sign, like how long will it be? How long will they wait on a potential trade? And that was sort of the way he led into that. And that was his answer, saying that with every passing day. And it's just terrifying. I don't want this to happen. I hate that we're here, but it's starting to feel a little bit more likely. You read in the Athletic today, Jonas Siegel, like the smoke is billowing out of Frank's guns here.
They say where there's smoke, there's fire. There's smoke.
Okay, I've been known to make a phone call every once in a while before the show
I've
starts.
seen that.
And I did talk to one team. Heard a few things. I talked to one team that said, as far as they were concerned, the Leafs are not taking calls on Willy Nylander. So that tells me one of two things: that Brad Treliving isn't taking calls on Willy Nylander, or this particular team
Is
be
on the
only-
10-team list.
maybe one of the few that that aren't involved on it.
Yeah.
But in saying that, there's no question in my mind, or I think in anyone else's, that they want this guy signed,
Yeah.
sealed, and delivered for the next 5, 7, 8 years.
I would say there's no incentive to talk to teams, assuming they're comfortable letting the 10-team no trade kick in, which I assume they are. There's no rush here, so they can work out with Willy, find out what they want, have their back and forth. And if they need to go to teams at that point, I think they can. The one thing that stands out to me is the article that from Jonas there talked about how far they are apart.
The Athletic you're talking about?
The Athletic,
Okay.
yeah. About how far they are apart. You know, what really strikes me more than anything is the idea that it's like, all right, Willy's going to cost this. The cap is going to go up. You're going to have to pay him this. I would love to see a short-term deal for William Nylander. Like, if I'm the Leafs, I would push for that. I would push for the opportunity to pay him a little less, still allow him to get another big payday. Like, the Leafs window here with Matthews, Marner, Nylander primes is the next 3 years.
Yeah. That just makes no sense if you're Louis Gross. You're just strictly seeing it one-sided for the Leafs.
I disagree. It's a chance for Willy before he's 30 to say, now I want my 8-year deal.
I disagree too.
Yeah,
because
no.
now he's at his value is at its highest it's ever been.
He's
right
trying to
this
sign
moment.
a contract in the vicinity of $70 to $80 million.
Yeah.
Like anybody else, you run the risk. And I think, again, Landeskog, career-ending injury.
Yep.
It's just, there are no guarantees.
Get your money when you can.
And lucky for him, he did. Landeskog did max out, I think, after their Stanley Cup. But Willy won't want to take that chance, and neither will Louis Gross want his client to take that chance.
So let me ask you this then. Why do we not apply that exact logic to Austin Matthews? That why would he want to take the risk of Landeskoging, or why would he want to sign a 2-3 year deal? How is it different?
Yeah. Again, Austin's going to sign a lesser deal, and he will still be the highest paid guy in the league.
Mm-hmm.
It's apples to oranges. They don't apply the same because they will tell Willy, if you don't fall into our slot, you will not sign here. We cannot go anywhere else. It's a different negotiation.
And with Matthews to say, if you don't fall into our slot, we'll make it bigger.
we might have to make it bigger. And they will not do that for both players.
Yeah.
You can only do that with one franchise type of player, and the Leafs made it abundantly clear it's Matthews. It's not Willy.
Can I tell you what scares me a little bit if you trade Nylander, and you're going to love this?
Everything.
A lot of it. How much leverage you hand Mitch Marner immediately. If you turn around and trade Willy going into this season and break up that core, or you want to spend some money on a D-man or whatever, all of a sudden next summer, Mitch Marner goes, you can't also lose me. I play the most. I get 100 points. I'm a Selke nominee.
I could be maybe arguably more valuable than 34 to you.
I mean, you could, whatever case
right?
you would, sure. And at that point, you lose the ability to say, well, we can't afford to lose. Right now, it's like, we're talking about they want to break up the core four. You consider trading Mitch. Part of that is that you have a right winger in Willy who scores 40 and gets 80, 90 points. If you don't have Willy, all of a sudden, if you're Marner, it's like, okay, pay me again, boys. And that to me is a tough spot for the Leafs.
Yeah. And Marner already won that last time when everybody said that he should be an $8 million player. He argued, based on his production, that he should be a hell of a lot closer to Matthews than the 8 or the 7.5 they first started negotiating. And he made them realize it meant 10-9.
It's his greatest win as a professional. No argument.
And he'll win that one again if the Leafs want to re-sign him, or he goes and becomes the highest paid player on another team.
Yeah. And I think that's what should happen, but you can't not have Willy at that point.
So if the Leafs do what's been rumored for 7 summers now and actually trade William Nylander, which is something that terrifies me to the depth of my soul. I hate the idea of trading him. But what should they be looking to get back in that trade? Because you're not a rebuilding team here. It's a kind of a unique spot where the team is right smack dab in the middle of its competitive window.
Don't think so much about a physical trade where Nylander leaves and a player comes back. You got to think of it as slots. So you're not slotting a physical player back
You're
for
saying
Nylander.
$7 million is what you're
You're opening up a chance to get somebody that can maybe be worth $7 or $7.5 million as a defenseman. So even if you traded Nylander for, say, 2 first-rounders and a top prospect, you open up the salary slot to go get a defenseman.
But Willy's a guy with value. You can get a human back.
You got to get a player back. You're going to lose 40
You just buy
goals.
a contract. You just buy a contract. That's the money.
Yeah, I know. Okay, but the idea that constantly is in my mind comes up a lot is Brett Pesce from Carolina.
Yeah.
He's a guy who needs a new contract too, I think.
Yeah.
And probably about what Willy's been making.
Okay,
would be the number.
So trade Willy for first rounders and prospects, and then sign him.
Wait till he's a UFA. Wait till the following year.
Or
like this summer, could they trade Willy for Pesce?
What is Pesce? Pesce's a 1 year away from unrestricted free agency, right?
He is. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Sam, you may be able to beat me on this.
I'm currently Googling as hard as I can.
Google it hard.
Would you want Pesce or Orlov?
Pesce has 1 year left at 4.025. So basically $4 million. He's 28 years old.
I'd sooner want a defenseman right away if you were to trade Nylander this summer.
Yeah.
But say you decide it's Orlov and you go sign him to a deal for, I don't know, 7 times 5.
Yeah.
Then you trade Nylander for 2 or 3 first rounders. That's not not good.
No, it's great. I mean, it
doesn't work for you.
I don't mind it.
Are those picks going to score 40 goals for you for a team that already
that's
struggled to
the thing.
score?
I'm going to tell you what it's going to do, Sammy. It's going to go into next March with a lot more bullets in your gun to go get somebody if you wanted somebody.
Okay. So
Do you understand?
It's currency.
Another year after they crash out of the playoffs because they can't score enough goals.
Well, unless you spend those first at the deadline, as he's talking about, to turn that into something, some offense.
Yeah. And
the teams, they stopped scoring.
They stopped scoring
in the second
with him
round.
here.
No, but he scored. He was literally the only member of the core 4 that scored in the second round.
And I'm not just convinced that they didn't advance in the playoffs because they didn't have enough scoring. Okay.
Yeah, that's become a public. thing.
Come on.
They
get better on the blue line. Get more. Get goaltending that you can count on. I mean.
Here's the thing,
Get tougher.
They
get bigger.
They scored 2 goals in the last 7 games of playoffs. The last 2 against Tampa and then all 5 against Florida. 2 goals they topped out at. They finished 9th in the regular season in goals for. And that sounds okay, but there's 16 playoff teams. So 9th out of 16, you're suddenly one of the lesser offensive teams in the playoffs. Like, there's no doubt to me you're going to lose Bunting. You do need some offense here. And I agree that their decor needs something. They need to get better. They have to add there. It ain't good enough. But you also need offense.
If you lose Willy, so your 3 offensive players that you'll have will be obviously Matthews, Tavares, and Marner. Okay, and we talk about the sure. We talk about the burden that's been put on those guys over the past few years in terms of minutes, in terms of everything, and then burning out towards the playoffs. So you're going to take away one of the 4 guys that contributes to and then how are you going to replace that offense? You have to trade them for offense.
You just do, Sammy. You just do. Okay, which brings us to our next conversation here because it does tie into what the Leafs could do if they move Willy Nylander and an abundance of buyouts coming down the pike. I mean, Blake Wheeler, we knew that was coming. The players had talked about it about a week and a half ago on an internal text chain that they knew.
The Jets players.
Yeah, the Jets players that Blake Wheeler was going to get bought out. The one that's kind of surprising, a little perplexing, is the Matt Duchene in Nashville. Yeah. What did he have left? 2?
No, I think he had 3 years left. 4?
Oh, my gosh.
His is a big ticket. His is a really big ticket.
He's an $8 million AAV, was he not?
He was, but Kip, even with this buyout, next year they'll take a $1.5 million cap hit for him. After that, $5.5 million. After that, $6.5 million to have him not play for you in 3 years. And then it's $1.5 million for 5 more years after that. So it must be 4 left.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
I mean, that's telling to me.
Okay.
So is that not
Certainly
pretty
is.
telling?
Let me just
Yes.
ask you then 3 players off the top of my head right now that could help the Leafs replace some of those goals. Matt Duchene at a fraction of the cost. Okay.
Don't
Blake
love him.
Wheeler
Pass.
at a fraction of the cost,
Interested.
or Max Pacioretty at a fraction of the cost.
None of those
Wheeler for
really
me.
get me that excited.
So
to be honest
Matt
with you.
Duchene-
Listen,
yeah.
I'm talking about players
I understand.
that could cost the Leafs as little as
$2, $3 million.
$2.5 million.
Yeah.
So I'm asking, should I prepare for life without Willy Nylander here?
I don't think so.
I'm not convinced anything's going to happen anytime soon based on a couple of calls that I made.
I think he'll sign in like September. I don't know anything. Kip knows stuff. I just say
No.
words, but
I just don't think that there's any real true pressure points here. And the other thing too is I don't want to change the subject on a possibility of cheaper goal scoring for the Leafs if Willie leaves.
let's go back to that then.
But there is this jam in the system, guys, that is just bringing things to a screeching halt right now. That there is no room. Everybody's pressed.
Mm-hmm.
There are no dollars out there. And everyone's fighting for every square inch.
Yeah.
And the players now, there's now more pushing into free agency. I don't know what the number will be tomorrow. Maybe 100, 150 NHL free agents. And no one's going to clamor to go sign them all.
No one has any money.
Nobody has any money.
What a massive advantage to have cap space right now. If you're Chicago, Detroit, Arizona, like the ability to do things for other teams, you could pull in a
Huge.
haul of assets doing favors.
And it's happening.
Yeah.
But it takes time. And I know we've got our free agency shows tomorrow. This one may be the toughest one of them all because do we expect Orlov to sign tomorrow?
I still think the
Probably.
top guys get dollars, right?
Can you name me some top guys? Because Orlov and
Bunsy
Shane
boy? Bunsy boy?
Gostisbehere, Klingberg. Give me some top names.
Yeah, I mean, among D, there's a couple big boys. There's
Dumba.
Mayfield.
And people racing.
Dumba.
Mayfield's going to re-sign with the Islanders because
Ryan O'Reilly.
they moved out Josh Bailey's money to sign Mayfield.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I guess Susie's available.
No, it's not. It's not a murderer's row.
No. Your point
people,
is
are
well
you
received
racing
here.
for Tyler Bertuzzi tomorrow?
I
On
mean,
the Leafs, I am. I'm hot. Yes. That's my number one Leafs want.
And overpay. What are you paying for him?
I don't know. What do you think?
5? 4
Maybe
times
5?
5?
Oh,
4 times 5?
Maybe.
You want goals?
But
you want
they're
toughness?
scrambling. They're not
scrappiness?
thinking Bertuzzi. They're scratching and looking for change under the cushion to try to take a run at Luke Schenn. Luke Schenn will
Luke Schenn,
cost
by the way,
you
don't.
at a minimum of $2 million. And depending on term, he may get more.
No chance you go more than, 2x2 is still 2x2.
Listen,
The ants go more.
even next year, you might be okay for $2 million for Luke Schenn, but 2 years from now, do you want to be locked into Luke Schenn for $2 million or 2.2?
I don't.
Right? So there's a jam. Like I said, the system is jammed right now.
Yeah.
So Max Pacioretty, lot to prove, wants to come back and show everybody he can score 25, 30 goals.
And I have no doubt he can. His last season that he actually played some games, he played 39 games 2 years ago. He scored 20 times.
And
he
played Wheeler as well.
I think Wheeler cheap is interesting. Here's why. I think he became such a, Brad Treliving was talking about how for Keith, how your second job, it's such an opportunity, whatever. Wheeler being the captain and being the culture of the Jets, it's felt like for a long time. To go somewhere else and not have to wear the C and to not have the salary pressure and not have to be the guy, I think you can get a lot of juice out of him.
I can tell you right now, he ain't coming to the Leafs.
No, I think he's going to the U.S. He's an American guy.
He's going to be feet up in Tampa. I can see them league minimum Tampa.
No, you know where I see him?
Someone will give him
Boston.
4.
No, he's not going back there. He's going further south than that. He's going where they don't care about hockey.
I'll tell you this about Wheeler is that I think for him in the last few years, he needs a strong room. And that's why I don't think Toronto would be a good place for him, because I don't think it's a very strong room.
You think he needs to be picked up by a room?
Yes.
Been a captain.
Yes. No. He needs to see his biggest problem in Winnipeg is he thought he was the man.
Yes.
And he wasn't. And
for a bit.
It had, I know, but it had a lot to do with the fact that, it got really ugly for Patrick Laine there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for him to enjoy his last few years, he doesn't have to be the guy that goes around the room and decides who gets a kick in the ass and who needs a pat in the back.
For sure. I'd give Wheeler 3 times 3. Sure. Oh, Sammy gave me a thumbs down on that. I didn't want it. Didn't want the contract.
But he just needs to go and play and be a good bottom 6 guy that can play the power play. He needs to be Corey Perry for the next 2 or 3 years.
I love that iteration of Wheeler's career. He could do it. He could turn that page.
I don't know if he's smart as Corey Perry, though.
Perry's a legend. Let's give him credit where it's due.
All right, let's welcome him in for the last time to completely throw our show in the ditch. Doug McLean. How'd you like that intro?
I've been told that I love it. I've been told it's my last show before, but I was told after my last show.
Oh, really? Well, we're squeezing one more out.
I wish they would have told me before, and then I wouldn't have done the last show.
All right, so we got to start with the Leafs and Brad Treliving and where he goes with his top 2 scorers of Nylander and Matthews. And, Mac, I was just talking about the system being a little jammed up right now. No dollars, tough scenario. Usually this time of year, there's winners and there's losers. Either, it's set up well for the players or it's set up for the owners. This is the first time it feels like to me that there are 2 losers right now, the player and the team, because both of them seem to have handcuffs on them.
Remember when we used to say that the middle guy is going to get squeezed out of the NHL? Middle guy is going to get squeezed out because of the salary cap. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I'm watching the $8 million guys get bought out like it's candy at a corner store. Like it's unbelievable. $8 million guys holding 50% of salary, buying out $8 million guys. It's mind-boggling to me. So everybody's getting squeezed. Yeah, you're right. It's cap management. We've got all these geniuses that are the best cap managers in the league, which is really addition and subtraction. And all of a sudden, every team's in trouble with their cap. Seriously, what is going on?
I love it. I love the minimizing. All these guys are these cap gurus. It's like, gurus, you're a human abacus.
You're just a calculator.
Guess what? You're a cap genius. Oh, you send a guy to the minors. Oh, wow, that's cap genius. Yeah. Oh my God, it's hard on the head.
They're the stars of the teams right now.
And that's why and look where we are. Just said it to start the show. Everybody's in trouble, and they're the stars of the show.
Which one?
Oh my God!
Which one surprises you most? Wheeler, Yamamoto, Duchesne.
Well, Yamamoto just catches me a little off guard. I know he had a tough year, and young guy. So obviously the deal was Stevie Y wanted the defenseman, so Kenny made him take Yamamoto to get the defenseman. That's what the deal was, I guess. That's what it certainly looks like, and I'm surprised that Yamamoto.
Costin's the forward, right?
Costin the forward, I meant. Yeah, that's who Kenny wanted. So he takes Yamamoto to make it happen. So I'm just caught off guard. Wasn't Yamamoto going to be the guy that was going to be Connor McDavid's winger a couple of years ago? What's happened to this kid? Where's it gone wrong for a top young player that this is where his career is today?
Doug, what do you think about?
Is it overpaid? That's what it is. He's overpaid.
Yeah, expectations and too much money too soon. The what do you think about, so like Minnesota recently bought out Parisi and Suter, and then they went on to have value for other teams the same way that Duchesne and Johansson are about to be bought out. What do you think about just getting these guys out of your dressing room if you know you want to start over with these guys, just doing it, before, just instead of forcing it for a few years and kind of letting it all just play out?
Well, you know what? We knew it was coming in Minnesota because it was an ongoing problem in the room with those two guys running their dressing room. And when Guerin went in, he made the decision. I'm coming in here as a GM, but before I take the job, this is what we have to do to make it right, to get back on track in Minnesota. And they've paid a price for it with their dead money on their cap. It's hurt. It's cost them. But they've made the move. Look, Duchesne, it's pretty bizarre. David Poile gets a standing ovation, and he's had a great career. David Poile had a great career. And yet his two latest biggest signings, other than Forsberg, were Duchesne and Johansson. And they're both guys that are being bought out the first day Trotz is on the job because they were horrendous contracts and horrendous deals. And we said it when it happened, Nick. Remember talking about those deals when they happened? What is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
So, you get in trouble with the cap because you sign, and it's pressure to make the decision to sign them, but you get caught with bad deals. And don't think the Leafs aren't moving into that territory right now if they're not real careful. They've already got it with Tavares, and they better be careful with the next signing because they're going to be in the same boat.
We're talking to Doug McLean, former president and general manager, National Hockey League. Mac, we were talking about the potential of Nylander overpricing himself. And if, in fact, that the Leafs would have to move him, would you see a scenario where a Pacioretty, a Wheeler, Yamamoto would come in and fill in some secondary scoring?
Well, somebody said to me the other day, one of the biggest good things that happened to Carolina was, Pacioretty couldn't play, and a great thing that happened to Vegas.
He can score, Mac. He can score when he's healthy.
Nick, you haven't been a fan of Pacioretty for 10 years.
Listen,
now you're a fan of his?
You know when I wasn't a fan?
Today?
I'll tell you when I wasn't a fan. When they try to convince me out of Montreal that he's a captain and a leader. That's what I didn't agree with.
You're bailing out a little on this one, but
I'm not. He's a goal scorer, Mac.
It's my last show. I don't want to get fired. I'm letting you off the hook on this one.
No. He can score, Mac. The man can score.
Secondary guy. He's a secondary guy now. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. He can score.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it as a bad thing.
Duchesne.
And they're gonna what about Tyler Bertuzzi?
Yeah,
is that going to cost you 5.5?
I don't know, but why wouldn't you try to get a real player? Help you maybe have a chance to win the cup. That's what I'm saying. I think I think if I'm Brad Treliving, I'm trying to look at that type of situation versus looking at a Pacioretty. That's all.
You're giving up maybe 15 goals. They're not going to score 40 like Willy, but can they get you 25?
Probably, and then it maybe gives you a chance to get a defenseman, too, that you need if you're going to have any chance of any success in the playoffs.
How do you prioritize what they need here, Doug? Like they didn't score enough last year.
Score enough, but they still don't have – look, okay, I'm watching the playoffs, guys. I watch Edmonton and Vegas series. It's one of the few series I watch pretty close. Vegas, and I said this to Nick the other day, Vegas don't win that series if it's not for Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo was the difference maker in that series, plus the goaltender versus Skinner. That was the two things that happened in that playoffs. Pietrangelo took charge of the series physically. Sending was a disaster in Edmonton, and the kid in Vegas played well. So I'm looking at Toronto. I'm thinking they haven't got the big horse still in the back end, and they haven't got goaltending. Who's going to play? What are they doing in goal? So they've got to make some big, tough decisions so they can fill critical holes. That's all.
Well, and I guess a lot of these decisions, it comes down to how much money they're going to give William Nylander and Austin Matthews on their next deals. How do you think those are going to shake out?
Oh, I mean, look, what's he want? $14.5 million, $15 million. I mean, that's frightening to do that, and for a guy that hasn't hardly won a playoff series, one playoff series in his career. He's been a great player, but oh man, that's a tough one to swallow. And the same with Willy Nylander. They're both very good players, but they're both going to be overpaid. And if they're both overpaid and Tavares is overpaid, how do you build a team? Simple as that.
The sense up until this point for Brad Treliving, according to our barometer of Leaf Nation, Sammy McKee, is just they're running it back, Mac. David Kampf. Does Brad need to shake it up?
Well, he's got to shake it up. When you come in, you can't just do the same old. But maybe we're going to see, some other teams weaken. Maybe Tampa Bay won't be as good. Now they're blaming. I see Al Murray's being blamed. God, he won them 2 cups and he gets fired. Like, what the hell is going on in Tampa Bay? But anyway, you know what? I think it's the same old, and it's the same old thing. Can't buy out guys and admit to your mistakes and, try to fix it that way. What can you do? What options can you do? That's the scary part. But I'd be trying to change it up 100%. Brad has got to try to change it up because this team is not built for the playoffs, and they don't have good enough goaltending, and their blue line's not good enough. And we've said it for 2 or 3 years. Kyle Dubas didn't do it, didn't fix it. He tried a few times, but it didn't work. And now Brad's going to be in the same boat if they don't make some big, tough decisions. And we've talked for 4 years that the guy to trade is probably Willy, probably the easiest guy. Yet this kid played really well this year. He played really well this year, boys. But he's not trading Marner. You're not trading Matthews. So what choice do you have?
So there are some interesting other things happening around the league, and I'd love to get your opinion on what Chicago's done in signing Corey Perry to a 1-year, $4 million deal. Same with Nick Foligno.
Okay, hold on for a second. Hold on before you answer that. Did you see Kyle Davidson get interviewed in Nashville by a reporter who had no idea who he was? Did you see that?
That reporter could have been me because I wouldn't know who Kyle Davidson is.
Okay, fair enough. But could you just imagine Newport agents who represent both Corey Perry and Nick Foligno watching that video with Kyle Davidson with his hat turned around, looking like he just came from a frat party? That's the moment when Newport looks at Corey Perry and says,
I know where you're going.
I'm getting you $4 million, buddy.
Yeah, I agree. And then I love the fact they're bringing in veteran leadership and Foligno and Perry. I mean, but what about John Tavares and Patrick Kane? Do they just? I mean, I just shake my head when I see
Jonathan Taves. Yeah.
Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane. I'm thinking, what is going on here? But anyway, I just like Nick. I love Nick Foligno. I really love Nick Foligno, but he has a hard time playing now. I'm sorry, he does. He had a hard time playing in Toronto. He was a little better. He had a little bit of a rebound this year, but he has a hard time playing. And Corey's Corey, but $4 million. Like, isn't Corey Perry a $1 million player?
Was that the idea? It's like you're
$1 million
to the floor.
Player?
Well, for me, it's just like if you come play for a team that's obviously bad, we'll pay you to be on the bad team and help Connor Bedard along. Then we'll retain 50%, trade at the deadline to a winner.
And who's picking him up at $2 million?
Well, not in this salary cap era. That's tough. It's true. That's true. They may have priced themselves out of even retention trades.
I guess I would have tried to maybe give them each $2 million and maybe try to bring in a real player. You know, somebody that might be available. That's a real player that might be able to help you for a number of years. Those days have gone, though. I guess. You know, I'm look, guys. I tell this story all the time. I had to buy out Andrew Castles at $950,000. Okay, spread it over 2 years. And my owner snapped. Could not figure out what I was doing buying out a player. And all he screamed at me was, I'm paying a guy for nothing. I'm paying Andrew Castles $450,000 a year for 2 years to sit out. You made a huge mistake. And I'm looking at the $8 million and the $10 million, and I'm thinking, oh my God, poor Mr. McConnell. If he was alive today, he's scary. Anyway.
Usually tomorrow, UFA, before we let you go, fairly active. Is this one going to feel much differently tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's going to feel different. It all, you see the Duchesnes and the Wheelers and these guys all of a sudden floating out there. I think it's different. The money is the only conversation we ever have about hockey today is the salary cap. Yep. And I'm so sick of talking about it. I'm so sick of who has cap space. All of a sudden, Barry Trotz is a genius because he's got $14.2 million in cap space. And yet they're going to have how many millions? They got Turris on dead money. They got Johansson on dead money. Now they got Duchesne on dead money. It's mind-boggling to me. And that's all we ever talk about. And this is Bettman's new NHL. Cap talk, period. That's all we talk about. The genius capologists who have got every team in trouble. Good job, boys.
Oh, my gosh.
Future Penguins GM Brandon Pridham would be hurt by all this.
So you didn't drive it into the ditch there. You just kind of
Listen.
You went right over the cliff.
Swerved into the other lane for a head-on collision.
I had a grade 8 kid come into Columbus and sit with me one day on student day and ask me if I needed math to do my job as president GM. And I said, yeah, you really need math. I have to be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and percent. And anything more than that, I take it down the hallway to my chief financial officer and I let him deal with it. Today, you need math, but you got to take it to the capologist's office. Yeah, great.
I would have loved to seen you president of a team today with a capologist.
No, I'm too old for that. I'm too crusty and old for that. But you know what? I'm going to leave this show and I'm going to the fireworks just 3 miles down the beach here to Borden, PEI, and watch the fireworks. But first, before I do that, I'm going to the Lone Oak Tavern and I'm going to have a few beer to celebrate all these great capologists in our game and Gary Bettman's cap. I love it.
Be careful. There's always a viral video, Sammy, of a family with fireworks.
Did you see that video? Oh, my God.
Oh, my gosh. And then it goes into a car, and it's just a disaster.
I'll text it to Doug after.
The point of it, be careful, Mac.
So I'm fired. I'm fired. Today's my last day, right?
No, we're giving you some time off.
Yeah, you can enjoy your summer, Doug. Well, we'll see you at training camp.
Okay, because I did a podcast yesterday. By the way, guys with podcasts, stop phoning me, okay? They drive me crazy all of a sudden. Because I'm free, they all want me on their podcast. But listen, the guy asked me yesterday what I was getting paid to do the Bourne and Kypreos show. And I said, you know what?
Yeah, I heard they're doing that.
I'm like a star. I don't divulge my salaries because I'm too embarrassed to say what they pay.
We're glad.
Pay you in kindness.
Put that on the list of the things that you should be embarrassed about.
And listen, happy Canada Day. And look, thanks a lot for having me on this year. It's meant a lot to me.
Yes.
I think it's helped my career. And I really, really appreciate it.
Okay, one more. I'll let you plug your book then off of that.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah, the Draft Day, which I guess Indigo has picked as the most exciting new book coming out this year. So
really? I guess no one else is putting out books?
It's a slow year.
All
Draft
right.
Day with Doug McLean and Scott Morrison.
Looking forward to it, pal. Hey, thanks for all
I heard, but one thing.
Yeah.
Scott Morrison, I heard somebody say, what did he do with the book? And he said he took Doug McLean's words and put them in English. That's what Scott phrased it, how he helped me.
Awesome. Great work, Scott. Great work. Okay, thanks all season long, man. on a serious note,
Yeah, appreciate it,
we've
Mac.
had a lot of fun with you. And I know everybody who either downloaded or watched you on YouTube appreciate the efforts.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Love it. Love the show, and have me on.
All right.
In all seriousness.
Doug McLean.
Thanks, partner.
Take care, man.
All right. That's awesome that we went a whole season with him and didn't have to fire him.
I know. That's really, a successful season.
And maybe saved his best hit for last, crapping all over the Cap. What a guy. Cap sucks.
Great point. We're talking about it way too much. We're not talking about who needs what or defense or
the Toronto Maple Leafs, who pay for the whole league. Everybody, they bring in billions of dollars every year. It's
Kip
like
season tickets could cover a new player.
They're like, oh, you got to sign under. You can't spend over $80 million because of the stupid Coyotes. It's like maybe wasn't there a bank that paid the Leafs $1 billion to have their naming rights on the rink? Maybe they should be able to spend more than $80 million on their damn team.
We are closing in on 20-year anniversary of the salary cap.
No, we're not. Don't say that.
Is it not?
That sounds right. Early 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fans still don't understand it, but the education probably in the last 3 or 4 years to understand why good players are leaving their team, they're starting to understand it.
And it's bad.
And I am telling you, as a player that lived through fighting to stay away from it, I went through a strike and a lockout to stay away from it.
Probably cost
because
you a lot of money personally.
The education was, this is poison to the players. And it's bad for the fans. Because you will be forced to lose good players because of it, and the middle will get squeezed. So always your stars will be looked after, and we're seeing that as they separate themselves, 10, 11, 14 million, now 15 million AAV, to Luke Shen, who came in making minimum at $750.
How about how many years now, Kip, have we seen the Stanley Cup is won, and before a guy has gotten sober, Riley Smith gets traded? And, the Stanley Cup has been won, and before Yanni Gord can put his shirt back on, he's somewhere else. And Coleman and Gaudreau and
those are favorite players of people.
They're the heart and soul guys who help you through.
And they don't understand. Fans don't understand why. We just won.
We want this guy. He's a huge part of what we just did.
And
we don't want him.
And I've invested in following him. I've invested in his jersey. I invested in his fan club. I follow him. Why are you getting rid of him? And now people are really starting to understand that it's not a favorable system to fans.
Yeah. Can I tell you who Nashville has on their roster for next year after buying out or getting rid of their two stars? This is their forward group. Sissons, Trennan, Tomasino, Parsonen, Novak, McCarron, Sherwood, Smith.
Yeah.
Is there who they have on their team next year?
Just one other thing, too, which kind of bothers me is that, one more before we go to break, is that somehow the Players Association and Gary never got together to find a way to just open up
the cap moving.
Just keep it moving.
Well, that was the thing with Walsh coming in, wasn't it? There was going to be some negotiation.
Just open it up. Give it some breathing room here.
We got $1 million, guys. Come on.
Oh,
no,
man.
it just needed more than that. And
half of David Camp.
The projections too are very healthy for the cap to go up significantly. It just won't happen in the next couple of years.
They even that out over 2 years then?
Why couldn't they negotiated that?
I don't understand.
I don't understand it either. All right, now let's go to break. We're back after the break. If you get a chance, give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. This is our end of the season episode on YouTube. We're going to be back Monday and Tuesday to wrap up the weekend as well. So we're not completely disappearing on you. But any chance we get any feedback from you, we'd love to hear it, and maybe a thumbs up too. Real Kyper and Bourne after the break.
Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
All right, slowly closing in on our studio show for the season. Just on a side note here, also during our last segment, Bob McCowan, of course, one of the legends here at Sportsnet 590 The Fan, sent out a text letting everyone know that he has had a second stroke over the last couple of weeks, and he's been in hospital ever since. He doesn't have the ability to walk or talk, but he is getting better slowly, and he hopes to get home soon and back on the podcast as quickly as possible. So, Bob, just from everyone here at Real Kyper and Bourne, and
he's one of the main reasons I do this.
Yeah,
man.
Exactly.
Oh, he's an absolute legend.
We wish you the best, speedy recovery. Our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, sentiment shared by all of us.
And I mean,
I was saying, my wife does that for a living. She helps people who've been through that get better, get back to better. And, there is a road to it. People do improve.
And she's seen amazing results, right?
Absolutely. So, take some work, but stick with it, pal.
Great. Outside of that, Derek Brandeo, hell of a year, man. I mean, I don't know what your contract situation is or if you're going to move up, if we can afford you. Get you under our cap.
Buy him out. Buy him out.
He's the Duchesne of radio shows.
There were times when
sorry, I make David Kampf money.
there are sometimes you push the right buttons and probably more than you didn't push the right buttons.
That's a successful year. It's a good batting average this year.
Yeah.
No, we are appreciative to everyone who helped put the show on this year. Jen Rolnick's not here today. Frank the Tank, David Siss.
Well, we don't want to say all our goodbyes. Just YouTube. We have two more
just
shows.
YouTube. We do.
Yes.
A couple of shout outs from YouTube. Jeremiah Maxwell, of course, the sports beard, always contributing on Twitter and on YouTube. And he said, Kip, Jason Bourne, and Sammy. Everyone there, we love you guys. Have an amazing summer. Darren McNeil said Sam is the best, so he gets a shout out. Ken S says he watches and listens daily from San Diego. I won't tell Kyper what that translates to. Donnie Does Dishes, a regular contributor, says Sammy gets some of the best guests in hockey, gets a shout out. Cheddar Bob says we love Sammy.
What's going on? What's in this read bag right now?
Joe McGee said Colby Barlow will be a great player in the NHL. And Colby Barlow, of course, drafted in the first round by the Winnipeg Jets for my beloved Owen Sound Attack. You also get a shout out. So there you go.
All right.
Not that we have to apologize to people because I went through it with Hockey Central at noon that, you get accused of being so pro Toronto. And, 2 years ago, it was a Toronto Maple Leafs show. And last time I checked, it's still a Toronto Maple Leafs show.
Yeah.
But the response of some of the rating and reviews over the last little while has been, to your point, that there are people all over the world that follow us now. And yes, we do talk about Toronto, and a lot of them aren't Toronto fans, but they're still tuning in, which to me
I remember
says,
Steve Valiquette being like, I never miss a show. He's on the Rangers MSG broadcast. I was like, why?
So I think that's a small hint that we might be doing something right or entertaining.
You can't talk about the Leafs without talking about everything around it. So I think we get to the NHL as best we can.
Rick Latour says, buy out Sammy. Ever since he said Point was faking it.
What would that buyout look like on Rogers' salary cap for the next?
Less than you think, guys.
All right. Any last thoughts on free agency tomorrow? It all kicks in.
What do the Leafs need? Any surprises?
Hey, housekeeping. Yeah. Me and JD Bunkus are on standby for a emergency Leafs talk if there's any news at all. So we're going to be doing something.
Will you do a pod if Matthews doesn't sign?
No.
Will you do a pod if they sign Orlov?
Yes.
What about
That's
Bertuzzi?
a big one.
Bertuzzi, yes.
What about Scott Mayfield?
No.
He's staying in the island.
I think the beers will still be cold if that's what happens.
But
But
Leafs need help on their blue line.
They do.
Yes.
I expect that to be addressed tomorrow.
And I do have a funny feeling that Calgary and Toronto will get together for something.
I want Zadorov here in Toronto. 6'6".
I would
He's gotten better.
How about Tanev?
He's a player now.
Everyone would
Tanev be great.
love
Actually, can he stay healthy?
Zadorov would be immediate fan favorite in Toronto, just burying everybody.
And he's sassy too.
Yeah. Thanks, YouTube. Love you guys.
Yep. Our thanks to all of your loyal followers on YouTube. And we hope to be back next year with you.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see how things progress. For Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Eric Brandale, Frank the Tank, I'm Nick Kypreos. Stay safe, everybody.